this is a sport where things ebb and flow, and teams, if you watch, man, teams move to the top, then other teams come and claim that position, and throughout the year, you like, oh, this team's dominating, they're the favorites, and then they'll sink and someone rises. And look back at the beginning of the year when the season started, the Chevrolets had everybody surprised. They brought this new car. They were very fast. They were almost winning every race. Chase Elliott, Alex Bowman, all those guys were doing really good things, having great years. And then they sort of fell off the map. Right midway through the year, it's like they put all their tricks on the table or on the shelf, or the rest of the series got better. Then, the 11, the 4, Harvick, they go on a tear. They win a bunch of races. All this happened in the same season. You forget about it.
It feels like 5 seasons all crammed into one, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, Chase was really fast and almost won Darlington when we came back.
Right.
So then they kind of disappeared. But, man, they figured it back out. Like when it comes time to show back up and when you're in elimination mode and you got to win, they pulled all the tricks off the shelf and put them back on the car, right?
I would have loved to see what Chase Elliott's odds were when the playoffs stared. When you had the full gamut of it. Nobody really would probably pick Chase to win that.
Remember when we had Chad Knaus on here, and he was telling us how they had all this stuff scienced out and all these little pieces, and they would use one trick till NASCAR wrote a rule around it, and then they would have 10 more tricks on the shelf, and they would put that next trick out there until NASCAR could write a rule around it, and then they're like, well, we got 8 more tricks, buddy.
Yeah.
We keep them coming.
Blew my mind that he said that.
Yeah, and some teams have that shelf full of tricks, and well, this is worth 1/10. This is worth 2/10. This is going to help us in front downforce. This is going to help us in rear downforce. Mostly all the teams have some of those things on the shelf. Some teams do not. Maybe by the end of the year, the Gibbs guys, their shelf was empty.
They'd used all their tricks.
But it was almost as if, and this is probably not true, but it's almost as if the 9 team unintentionally or intentionally built a shelf full of tricks, hot tips, setup stuff, whatever you want to call it, throughout the first half of the year, and said, you know what? Let's put all that back
for the playoffs.
Let's not get it taken away.
Maybe after he won his first race, for sure. When he was in the play, when you lock yourself in, don't go empty the chamber right there.
Yeah, it's such a hard thing to do. When you do get yourself sort of locked in to the playoffs, and your fate of going, your positive fate of going into the championship, the playoffs or battle for the championship, your team or your crew chief, or most often, they do kind of dial it back, get a little more conservative, less aggressive on getting through tech and some of the things that some of the holes in the rule book, right? But anyhow, when it came time to go to the shelf for Chase Elliott at Martinsville and this past weekend at Phoenix,
right? They didn't even pass.
They threw all that stuff on the race car,
right? It sent him to the back too.
Yeah.
I mean, like
one of those things.
One of them did.
Yeah,
the one they wanted NASCAR to see.
I know that is another. That's true. So I've always felt like that. When we would go to Daytona or Talladega, right? I mean, with Tony Jr. and those guys, we had the body, for example, is just one part of it. Then you got the chassis and things you do with the rear suspension, and there's so many things that are just borderline, right? That if NASCAR really looked at, they might go, you know what? It ain't illegal, but we don't like it.
Right.
So
that
we're going to take it from you, and you just put something normal in there, whether it's a screw jack or bolt or something with a trailing arm they don't like. But then, they obviously look at the body, and it's out there for everyone to see, and they might go, you know what, that C-post, grind on that, sand on that, or so what we would typically, what I always liked to do was to make something super glaring, like in your face,
Right.
that I was okay with them taking away. So that would draw their attention away from anything else or other things on the car.
Like
right?
a little blinking red light that says nitrous or something in it.
So you're pushing the car up for tech, right? And you're going into the body panels and all, or the body temps and all that, templates and all that stuff. And you got this one thing, and they're like, "Oh man, no, we can't let you get have this. You gotta." They're talking to you like, "Work with us here. Kind of. You can't have this. This is obviously very aggressive what you've done here to this splitter or this front fender or whatever." And we're like, "Oh man, come on,
you do you go through the
come
motions,
on.
right?
Yeah, you do the dance.
That's crazy, man.
And we start sanding on it, and you're like, "Man, I can't go too far here. You're killing me."
Right.
And they're like, nope, we don't like it. And you just keep hollering and hooting over this one little area, and they're never looking anywhere else on the car.
Some Jedi mind tricks going on in the NASCAR tech line.
And you were willing to give that away or give it up or give it back to them from the get-go when you loaded the car in the trailer. It's so fun, I think, what the sort of chess match is amongst the engineers and the crew chiefs, that it's all going on in preparing the car and and getting the car through tech and then and getting the car onto the starting grid with all the bells and whistles that they want. There's a lot more to it than what you just when the driver fires it up and runs the laps and wins the race.
So your theory then is that being the fact that Chase won 3 of the last 5 races, is that what he? I mean, he won obviously Martinsville and Phoenix.
Charlotte.
Won Charlotte, right? That they held their good stuff.
Yeah.
To the playoffs, and boy,
and not
did it
that
not
it's illegal. I'm not saying that.
Right.
No, we're not saying that anything.
Anything
on their
quote
car.
a wise man, I'm not directly calling you a cheater.
No. This is another. What I think they're not even hiding. They're not even shelving some of that stuff, or it ain't even NASCAR or the officials that they're worried about.
Oh, really?
It's the rest of the garage.
Oh, right. Okay, right? I get it.
When I would go into the competition meetings at Hendrick Motorsports, my favorite part of the meeting was at the end. This is post-race, getting together on a Tuesday or something. My favorite part of the meeting was being able to see what, if any, pictures we had of the competition. Mm-hmm. As they push their cars through tech or their cars are going out on the racetrack, there's photographers everywhere taking pictures for everybody. And if we got a question or a concern about maybe something somebody's doing, a photographer may take extra pictures of that particular area of the car. And we, can get these high-def pictures and go home and just look. You can stare at it all you want. Obviously, in real time, in reality, you can't walk up to the car in the garage, your competitor, and just look at it,
right?
For 15 minutes.
Certainly not cryptically, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so my favorite part of these meetings was when there might be some great photos to look at. And I don't know what I'm looking at, but I'm sitting there at that table with all those crew chiefs and engineers waiting on them to tell me what I'm looking at. Like, what do y'all see? I just see a picture of a car. And so, what do y'all, and they're like, well, look at this.
They got the wrong color wheelbase. I mean, are y'all seeing what I'm seeing?
Yeah. It's the side skirt's not painted. That's what. And they're like, well, look at how they got this little trip lip right here. I'm like, holy smokes! I would have never noticed that. You guys, that's y'all. They're so smart, right?
Yeah.
And so the garage is sort of like trying to, smoke screen itself. And yeah, you're not really worried about NASCAR taking away something as much as you are just your opponents figuring it out. And what happens when they figure it out, Mike, first is, I want to say this is, not only do they copy you, they see, oh, that's cool, I add that to my car. Now, they take it home and they engineer it into something better.
Yeah.
That was how Brad Keselowski, in my opinion, beat us in the championship in 2012. So we had tricked out our rear suspensions and we had a rear sway bar on the back of the car that when the car would travel, it would twist the rear end housing into skewing the car, right? So we could, you remember how you see the cars run sideways?
Oh yeah,
down the
like
straightaway?
A crab.
Crazy,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Well, NASCAR started doing a lot of things with rules under the cars to keep that from happening. We had little bushings in the left side of the trailing arm that would move, but you had to have something to hold it in that position. So we fixed the rear sway bar. Wasn't working as it was intended to work. It was actually just a big pry bar that would pry the rear end back on the left side and hold it in position when the car would travel, right? Rolling through tech where it heights.
Oh, my God.
Right?
Yeah.
We got a clear heights in tech, which is about 4 inches or whatever. But when we go out on the track and we're running around, the car settles down, right? And when it would travel those 2-3 inches, that rear sway bar would pry that rear end housing back on the left side, and or pry it forward. I'm sorry, it would pry it forward and skew the housing and skew the car, and then now you're hauling tail, right? It was worth about 2-3 tenths,
which is huge. Yeah,
huge.
God Almighty, you have them covered with that.
Yeah, and we had a lot of speed that year with that, and Brad and his team went to work. They might not have seen exactly how we did it, but after a handful of weeks, they had an idea of what we were doing and went home and made it even better and then whooped our ass.
Do you know what they did at this point?
Not a
wow,
clue.
Man.
But I just know that they didn't have what we had, and when it came time to win a championship at the end of the year, they had taken that idea, that principle, and even made it even better.
This is fascinating because it's no different than when a football team runs a trick play. Once you run it, it's on the game film.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world can now go look at it. They can get better, or they know how to defend it for sure.
Yep.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
You're saying is that don't go show your trick plays not because it's illegal. It may not be illegal, right? You can run that, punter sweep all you want. You know, it's only going to work once.
Yeah.
Because then everybody else is going to be ready for
it.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, if you like what you're watching in these videos, you need to listen to the whole podcast. A Dale Jr. download is available on all podcast platforms. Go check it out.